This is the new Tesla Model Y Performance, and we're going to launch it. Whoa! Tesla's most expensive new car in Australia might have just gone to finishing school. This is the new Model Y Performance, updated for 2026. It's got more power under the skin, new suspension, as well as a heavily updated interior that makes it a little bit more different to the regular Model Y in the range than the previous generation of this performance variant. In this video, we're going to go through the interior of this car and show you what's new in terms of comfort, features and technology, tell you how much it costs and what you get for the money, and of course hit the road to find out what it's like to drive, and along the way throw in a few fun facts that you might not know about this top of the range Model Y.
The Tesla Model Y Performance is priced at $89,400 before on-road costs. That's $6,500 more than the previous iteration. Once you factor in the $400 order fee and the $1,400 delivery fee, it brings the RRP to $91,200 before on-road costs. That's still under the luxury car tax threshold, meaning it's still eligible for fringe benefits tax exemptions when purchased on a novated lease. We'll get onto power and range a bit later in this video, but here's what you get for the money. Items exclusive to this grade include front sport seats with extendable under-thigh support, a larger 16-inch touchscreen, adaptive suspension, 21-inch alloy wheels, red brake calipers, and some carbon fiber highlights. That's all in addition to equipment shared with cheaper Model Ys, including matrix LED headlights, satellite navigation, Bluetooth, music and audio streaming, heated and ventilated power adjustable front seats, and power reclining rear seats with heated outboard functionality. There's also a glass roof with a UV coating, an 8-inch rear passenger touchscreen, dual zone climate control, hands-free power tailgate, and a full suite of advanced safety features.
If you have a Model Y Performance behind you in traffic, you'll be able to tell it apart with these gloss black inserts on the bottom of the bumper. Sportier bumper overall, bit of a different look on the road. These lights are shared with the regular Model Y, but this definitely isn't. Wheels have always been one of the biggest differentiators for the Model Y Performance. This is a new 21-inch alloy wheel design here with aero caps on the fascia, new Pirelli P0 tyres that are wider at the back than the front, as well as red brake calipers under there. It's the same disc and caliper as the regular Model Y, so you don't actually get an upgrade in braking hardware. Perhaps there are different pads there, but they are now painted in red for a sportier look on the road. This Model Y Performance is not made in China like the rest of the model range for Australia. This car actually comes from Tesla's factory in Berlin, Germany, which is a first for the Tesla brand in Australia. Something you'll actually notice with that, and a bit of a fun fact, this car here is finished in what Tesla calls Quicksilver paint. You can get that on regular Model Ys as well as this Performance. Now, because the paint shop at the German factory is better than the Chinese one, this paint has a little bit more of a reflective nature to it, a bit more depth, a bit more of a blue tinge that you might not notice unless the cars are parked next to each other. There's a fun fact if you never wanted to be invited to a party ever again. The other Model Y Performance styling hallmark is this carbon fiber rear spoiler on the back here. It's a bit longer for this generation of car. This is facelifted Model Y, all in the name of better aerodynamics. Down here, got this new performance badge. It's a reference to a movie from the 80s that Elon Musk really likes. Comment down below if you know what that is, as well as a bit of a rear diffuser of sorts down there at the bottom. What do you think of the design? I think it's a little bit overstyled with this rear bumper, but overall it is still a relatively clean design and sort of more subtle as far as performance cars go. If you own the old Model Y Performance and are looking to upgrade to this new model, there are two sides of this story to tell. The first is all the bits you get over a regular Model Y, at least in this updated range. Most obvious one here are these new front seats. They're proper sport seats, single piece backrests, so it's got a more sort of sporty design than what you get in the normal Model Y. Things like this sort of ludicrous badging in the middle there, which looks super cool. And they are really supportive and really comfortable. They're perhaps a little bit more forgiving in terms of bolstering than the Model 3 Performance sedan. That could be placebo. They do feel a little bit more accommodating than that car. But they are fully power adjustable, heated and ventilated in this car as well. Really nice sort of synthetic leather look material on them as well. And they just feel, yeah, really premium, really comfortable as well as really supportive. Something this Model Y Performance gets over the Model 3 Performance is extendable under-thigh support here on the bolster. There's a very small button on the side of the seat that will then sort of extend and retract this cushion, giving it a little bit more under-thigh support. There could be more of it, to be honest with you. It's not a whole lot, but it is definitely better than nothing. And I suppose longer leg drivers who sit further from the steering wheel will definitely appreciate that feature. The more obvious things you'll notice in this cabin is this sort of carbon fiber look trim on the dashboard behind the center screen here. But otherwise, it is fundamentally the same as a regular Model Y. There is one difference you might not notice unless you sit in these two cars back to back, is this new center screen. It's a little bit bigger than what you get in a Model Y long range, for example, 16 inches across rather than 15.4, and it is also higher resolution as well in terms of the display. So if I get close to it, I can see that there's a lot more clarity sort of in the words on the screen and the graphics on the screen. Whereas if you look at the screen in a normal Model Y, you'll notice there is a bit of pixelation when you get closer to the display. It's not a huge change. Unless you see them in close proximity, you won't really notice, but it is something that Tesla's doing to sort of keep this screen up to date. This software is the best in the business. Super quick responses from the processor in this car. Yeah, super quick. There's no lag time on any of these menus. And yeah, really nice and really easy to use software. There is obviously quite a steep learning curve, as there is in all Teslas, but after sort of a couple days in the car, this becomes second nature and actually is really easy to use. It's helped by, for example, having a car shortcut button in the bottom right corner that brings up most of your functions in this vehicle. And when you go to, say, autopilot, it's all in one list. There aren't any sort of sub-menus you've got to dig through like you can in, say, a Zeekr or a BYD. The downside, though, is no Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. You do have music streaming through this car. You've got Spotify built in, as well as things like Apple Music, as well as Tidal and TuneIn and various things like that for using them in this car. But yeah, no Apple CarPlay is a bit annoying. Say if you want to run Waze in this car, you can't do that. You've got to sort of keep your phone there or up on a mount on the windscreen. You do have built-in navigation in this car powered by Google Maps, as well as the best trip planning in this segment by far. Model Y has been out for a couple of years, but nothing gets close to it as far as the ease of use on this screen are concerned. I can type in a supercharger there, tells me how many chargers are free, at least how many cars are there at the moment, exactly how much battery I'll have on arrival, as well as preconditioning the battery on the way there to give me the best possible charge. It just works. There's no sort of things you've got to learn how to use or deal with and sort of get annoyed at. You just plug it in and it goes. It's just fantastic and super intuitive in this segment. The rest of the cabin is pretty standard Model Y fare, and that is a good thing. In terms of where I sit and my visibility on the road ahead, the bonnet drops away from me, as it does in all Model Ys, and you sort of feel like you're sitting in the front of the car, like rather than there's a long bonnet stretching ahead, it does feel a little bit more futuristic in terms of the position in this car. Not as low as an Ioniq 5N, for example, but still high enough that you got a good view of the road ahead, which is nice. Obviously, there's no head-up display, no dedicated instrument display. Everything runs with this center screen here, including your speed in the top right corner. There's definitely a learning curve to it, but you do get used to it pretty quickly. And it does sort of feel unlike a lot of other cars in this segment, at least from behind the wheel. The steering wheel is quite small, again, to go with a quick steering rack that we'll talk about a little bit later when we get this car on the road. Nice design, leather look feel there. The buttons feel okay enough. Nice sort of scroll wheels, as well as some shortcut buttons for things like your lights, as well as your windscreen wipers and things like that. You do have an indicator stalk in this car, which is good. Tesla hasn't removed it. In fact, the Model 3 sedan that did remove it does get this back with an update, which is good. Being the flagship of the Model Y range, you do get plenty of equipment in this car. Dual zone climate control, dual wireless phone chargers, keyless entry and start, as well as through the phone key, which is great to use in this Model Y. Really well appointed for the money as well. Nice materials too around the cabin, sort of soft touch finishes on the dashboard here. Nice, good build quality in this car as well. As I mentioned, this is the first Tesla built in Germany for Australia, and it all feels pretty well screwed together. There are a few sort of squeaks at times, but this car is brand spanking new, so perhaps that'll settle in a little bit as the car starts to age. Nice materials on the doors, nice ambient lighting running around the dash, and there's loads of storage space here as well. Deep sort of center armrest there, loads of room ahead of me in the center console, super deep there, loads of room for storing things big and small, as well as a pair of cup holders here as well, which is great. Good door pockets, they're flock lined as well, which is nice, and yeah, just a really nice and spacious cabin that ticks the boxes both as a performance car as well as a family SUV. Space in the back here is the best it's ever been. I'm 186 centimeters tall, or 6'1". This seat is set up for where I drive. You can see I have loads of room here, both in terms of knee room to the front seat. Great headroom, even though this is sort of a coupe style SUV, as well as acres of tow room under the front seat. And even for the middle passenger, it's carved out under the center console here, so they can slide their feet forward and have a comfortable experience. Under-fire support is better than it used to be in the Model Y Performance. Decent support here from the base, and it is overall pretty comfortable. A little bit flat, but does the job pretty nicely. And amenities are the same as cheaper Model Ys in the range. You've got fold-down center armrest with a pair of cup holders here. Got an 8-inch touchscreen for rear passengers in the back seat. You can do things like control your climate control, your rear heated seats on your outboard positions, as well as things like music and what's going on in the front in terms of your entertainment things. Other things worth calling out, got a completely flat floor in this car, which is great, a benefit of being an EV from the ground up. as well as air vents back here that I mentioned before, plus 2 USB ports here for keeping devices charged, compared to just one USB-C port in the front. There are some compromises to keep in mind for this performance model. These new front seats, while they're great up front, they do block some of your vision from the back seats, and you do notice there's no more mat pockets on the backs of these seats. So you're limited to your door pockets, as well as your fold-in armrest I mentioned before, and just generally keeping things around you here in the cabin. You also get power reclining rear seats in the back of this car. There are buttons by my right side here, which I can sort of control the angle of the backrest electrically, which is good, as well as press one button there and it will fold the seat back. So you can also do from the front as well, which is pretty nice. Overall, pretty similar to the normal Model Y, pretty comfortable, pretty supportive on this seat base, and yeah, one of the best in the class as far as rear seat space and amenities are concerned. The Model Y is one of many new cars these days with electronic door releases. To open them normally, whether you're in the front or the back of the car, you've got these buttons here on the top, but then obviously pop the latches. But what happens in an emergency? Well, at the front, you've got really clearly labeled buttons that are next to the window switches. You can just sort of pull a latch and the door obviously opens manually. In the back here, it's a little bit more complicated. There is a manual release, but it's in the bottom of the door pocket here. Tesla has at least now labeled this, which is great to see, but it does require you to sort of put your finger in there, gives up a bit of trim, and then pull a sort of yellow cord to then open the door. If the door pocket's full, you're probably not going to find that. And if the car's upside down, or you just had a crash, or you're dazed, for example, that will also probably be pretty hard to find. Tesla has said it wants to move away from these eventually, and go to more conventional designs. I think that would be a good move. Under the power tailgate of this Model Y, which is hands-free if you have your phone in your pocket with the phone key set up, is a really big boot, the same as the other models in the range. You can see loads of room. Tesla claimed over 800 litres of space. We suspect that's measured up to the roof rather than the cargo cover like most rivals, but still, it is one of the bigger boots in the class. Fold away this slightly fiddly cargo cover there that doesn't quite want to stay back. Is, again, really big space. Loads of underfloor space that will fit a carry-on suitcase and a little bit more than that, which is great for airport runs. Some space on the left and right sides of the boot, good for like smaller items perhaps, or shopping bags or things like that. And just a generally really deep boot on the whole. You do have reclining rear seats as well, using that power function to drop them obviously completely flat and get an even bigger load space. One of the handy things you can do is if you pull up at, say, a click and collect at a supermarket and you don't want to get out of the car, you can even lower those rear seats from the touchscreen up front, which is a pretty handy feature. If that's not enough space, you have another 116 litres of room here under the bonnet of the car in what you might call the Frunk, for example. Quite a big space, quite deep, bigger than a lot of other SUVs in this class. You've also got things like a drain plug down here. So if I can pull that out, there you go. You can then fill it up with ice or perhaps water or something, or put dirty things in there and then wash it out once you're done, which is a handy feature. Also got a light in there so you can see it at night time. Part of the upgrades with this new Model Y Performance is the battery pack, which is new for this car. Still nickel, manganese, cobalt chemistry, but it's up to about 84 or 85 kilowatt hours gross, about 82 of which is usable. The result is a claim range of 580 kilometers. That's up from just over 500 in the previous Model Y Performance, and compares to about 600 Ks in the less powerful and a bit less sort of performance-focused long-range Model Y you get at the moment. DC fast charging is still limited to about 250 kilowatts with this updated Model Y Performance, but still should be good for about 10 to 80% charge in half an hour or so, about the same as the previous model because it charges faster in the middle of the battery percentage range. AC charging is still limited to 11 kilowatts as well.
Finding an accurate power output for the Model Y Performance isn't quite as easy as you might think. Tesla quotes 343 kilowatts, while Australian government homologation documents say 461 kilowatts, which we believe to be the maximum output of the front and rear electric motors simply added together. In truth, we believe the peak power output is closer to 425 kilowatts. That's about the maximum output the battery pack can supply to the motors. Tesla claims 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 3.5 seconds, towards a 250 kilometer an hour top speed, of course, on a racetrack.
That means when you put your foot down, even though this car is almost flat in terms of its battery, performance is pretty phenomenal. You can see, floor it, you go straight into the back of the seat here. Speed limit's low, so I can't do too much, but this car is seriously quick in a straight line. 0 to 100 in 3.5 seconds, as Tesla claims, and we believe every bit of that figure. It's not just speed, though, that this car can do. It's a much better car in the corners as well. Now have adaptive suspension shared with the Model 3 sedan, and you have a choice of standard and sport modes for the firmness of that. And to be honest, it's actually not that much firmer over bumps than a normal Model Y on the upgraded 20-inch wheels. Sure, there is a firm edge. It is a sporty riding car, and you definitely do feel the bump. It's not a magic carpet by any stretch. But you're not jostled, it's not super brittle, it's not rough in any way that you're sort of bouncing out of your seat or the car's trying to break your spine, for example. It is really well sorted in that respect, and you can actually keep a nice speed on a country road and really push the car without feeling like you're being rattled out of the seat. As for the handling, that is obviously also awesome as well. Pirelli P0 tyres on this car deliver plenty of mechanical grip, and obviously you got dual motor all-wheel drive, so it really sticks on the way out of bends. Good torque vectoring software, really good way to portion the torque between the wheels and the front and rear axles. But new for this car is a way to turn down the stability control intervention in this car. Teslas have always been quite hyperactive in the way the electronic systems start to bite at wheels when they detect spin. It's almost clinical in the way that it does it. It sort of shuts down any sort of wheel spin before it turns up in a way that can sort of work in a base Model 3 rear-wheel drive, for example, that has, only 2 driven wheels, not as much power. You're not trying to drive it in a sporty manner all the time. But in this performance, it can get in the way. That new reduce mode, though, does fix the problem. It's not a full drift machine like a Hyundai Ioniq 5N, for example, but does allow a little bit more slip than you got otherwise. And it sort of goes from getting in your way to not getting in your way as far as the stability control tuning is concerned. And when you're on a nice country road like we are here, obviously going faster than we are here, you can really push the car, and you've got enough compliance and suspension and enough movement from the car systems that actually lets you have a fair bit of fun with this Model Y performance. You've got enough compliance in the suspension now to take bumps without sort of pushing the car offline, as well as enough freedom in the ESC tune. You can sort of play with the car and really do with it what you want it to do. It's sort of not getting in the way, shutting down what you're trying to do. It feels like a well-tuned, well-thought-out performance car, which is not something that could be said about previous versions of Tesla performance models.
Should you no longer want to drive, Tesla's full self-driving supervised package is available. It allows largely hands-off, but still eyes on the road driving in most scenarios, both around town and on the freeway. It does come at a cost though, $10,100 when purchased outright, or $149 a month on a subscription. In our time with the performance, the FSD didn't work any differently to other Teslas we've driven with this technology. So to watch it work in action, click the card in the top corner of this video. Also worth noting is the turning circle in this Model Y. Both performance and the regular versions have a pretty broad circle, and you do notice it when you're around town and trying to do a U-turn on a tight street.
The rest of the drive experience is pretty typical Tesla. Super quick, super darty steering response. You really got to get used to it and sort of train your brain to get around it and sort of learn how to work with the steering rack. But yeah, super quick and darty off center. Not a whole lot of feel through the wheel, but it does the job well enough, and it is sort of precise and accurate, which is what you want. Brake pedal is very firm. You really need to sort of put a lot of force into it to make it pull up. But fortunately, the regen braking in this car is very strong. Got a choice of standard or reduced modes for the regen. Standard is kind of what we've been leaving it on most of the time with this car, but you can back it off a bit if you like. Both modes, no matter how you set it, will bring the car to a full stop if you lift off the pedal for long enough. It is a full one-pedal drive mode as the only choice in this car. Not everyone will love that, but there's sort of, you learn how to drive the car around the region and really use that to sort of pull you up and not touch that brake pedal so much. The dynamic screen in this car is where a lot of the performance functions run in this Model Y performance. Got a choice of different acceleration modes, chill, standard, and insane mode, depending on sort of the power that you want. Insane will also give you a launch control function if you want that as well. Choice of regen modes as well as standard or sport ride and handling. So that's your adaptive dampers control there, as well as your steering weight and your stability control assistance there. A lot of customization in this car, and you can really set it up to drive the way you want. And look, this car is not quite as sharp as a Model 3 performance sedan. That's sort of not going to come at any surprise. It's a taller car, higher center of gravity, and it isn't quite as focused in the way it's been tuned, but still, it actually is surprisingly enjoyable to drive. Not as fun as a Hyundai Ioniq 5N, for example, but still pretty capable, plenty of grip, a little bit of slip if you want it, a little bit of fun if you really provoke the car. But yeah, it's a really nicely resolved performance package and definitely a big step up over its predecessor. As for more rational things, visibility is really good. As with all Model Ys, the bonnet sort of drops away from you out the front. The mirrors aren't huge on the side and the rear window is quite small, but you do sort of get used to it and you have plenty of cameras to sort of help you figure that out on the move. Of course, there's no instrument display ahead of me here, nor sort of any head-up display on the windscreen. So you do have to look down to the center screen when you're driving. But again, it's something you get used to over time. But yeah, this has gone from a car that perhaps felt a little bit one-dimensional in its previous iteration, fast in a straight line, decent in corners but not exceptional, to a car that is now a proper performance package. Quick in a straight line, grips well, puts a smile on your face to an extent, as much as you can, I suppose, with a performance SUV. And even things like these seats, they hold you a lot better than the previous model. And yeah, it's just a much better performance package, and perhaps finally justifies that performance badge on the back. So there you have it, our first drive of the updated Tesla Model Y Performance. This car is undoubtedly a step forward over the model it replaces. It's better both on the day-to-day basis in terms of the comfort inside, the tech you get, the features and the quality of the cabin, as well as what it's like when you want to have fun with it. It's faster, it's sharper, it rides better over bumps, both, again, when you're going quickly and when you're not. And it's gone from a car that perhaps majored on its acceleration, but perhaps wasn't as good in other areas, to a car that really ticks all the boxes. It's fun when you want it to be, and really comfortable and compliant when you don't. And there are a few elements we think can be improved. For one, that price, nearly 100 grand drive away. It's cheaper than a lot of its rivals in this segment from Hyundai, Kia, Ford and others. But given a base Model Y is about 60 to 65 grand drive away, and you get fundamentally the same features, similar efficiency, and a lot of the same package, just with obviously less performance and a few less go faster bits here and there. It may be a bit of a tall order for some buyers, and we think the value in the Model Y range is found lower down in the lineup. But of course, some people just want the fastest car, in which case this will do the job very well. It would also be nice to see some more engagement behind the wheel in terms of some fake engine sounds, or perhaps some simulated gears, like you get in a Hyundai Ioniq 5N, to add a new dimension to the way it feels behind the wheel. But overall, this is a really impressive car, and if you want an all-you-can-eat electric SUV for about this price, this should be at the top of your test drive list. If you enjoyed this video, consider giving us a like down below. And if you're not an SUV person and want a more conventionally shaped Tesla performance car, check out our video of the Model 3 Performance up here.